Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to be talking about conditioning before training and why I personally like to hit all of my conditioning needs before I start doing any other types of training when it comes to my own training and workout plan. If you're new here, my name is Nick Lee. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, human performance coach. I work on all things physical and mindset, trying to give you guys the best tools you can use, or at least think about when it comes to your own training and developing yourself both as an athlete and as a person. As we all know, when it comes to training, there are very specific things that you can do to be optimal in your warm-ups. In your warm-ups, a lot of people will do some foam rolling, some mobility work, some activation work, some excitation work, just to make sure everything is working towards the specific thing you're doing in that training. That is all well and good, but at the same time, there are constraints in real life. In real life, everything is not perfect. Everything is not optimal. And what I have found in my own training, both in the past and currently in the present, is that doing conditioning as part of your warm-up and through the first part of your workout is far more effective in getting you ready for your training than trying to do the perfect warm-up. I'm just going to give a couple of reasons why. I want to keep this video pretty short, so I'm just going to give you a couple of reasons why I think that this is beneficial, at least for me personally, and it kind of gives you something to think about if you want to apply it into your own training. So the first thing, and probably the biggest reason as to why I do all of my conditioning prior to my training, is time. I am in a season of life where I have work. I have 4 very young kids, and I want to keep my family life number one because that is the most important thing to me. And the thing that takes a back seat to that right now is my training. I've had super intense training phases in the past, and for me to get the amount of work that I want to do in, it's going to take me at least an hour and a half to 2 hours almost every day. And I know that sounds crazy. That's just kind of how I've been brought up and what I've done personally for so long that I want to do that. However, when it comes to the season of life I'm in, when I try to do that, I get to a certain point in my workout and I have to cut it short because I have to go do something else. And what fell prey to that? My conditioning and the amount of things that I did that were athletic. So when I go to run or jump, especially probably within the past couple of years when I stopped doing a whole lot of conditioning and I stopped doing a bunch of jumping and competing and playing sports, I would go do something athletic and I would tweak something. Inevitably, that is going to happen because I spent less time doing those things, because those things usually had time at certain points of the workout that I never got to, or I was always taxed from something else and I decided to put it off until another day. So what I decided to do after that was to put my training, my conditioning training first when it comes to any training. That way, if I have to cut training short that day, I hit my conditioning. I will always hit my conditioning. So the first constraint is time. If you're anything like me, if you're in the season of life that I am in, it is very worth considering putting your conditioning first. What have I noticed since I've done that? Well, I'm obviously in better shape. I can handle more volumes of work. If some of that conditioning is running, you are doing little plyometrics with each step, with each bouncy step. So you're getting kind of plyometric work since you go from 0 to jogging, and then you're able to handle faster things, more bouncier things, and then that can play into being athletic as well. So I feel better, I can handle higher amounts of work, and I feel bouncier, snappier, quicker when I'm going through this training. It might not be optimal because you hit a fatigue state from your conditioning, but I think the benefits of adding that conditioning training in far outweighs trying to do it perfectly and missing out more often than not. If time is a constraining factor for you, this might be something to consider. The second reason why I put conditioning first in my training is because it is a great warm-up. Now I understand it is not the traditional warm-up where you go very slowly, you try to get everything built up into making the body ready for the training that is to come. But I found that simply doing some ladders, some very light, extensive plyos as fast as you can, as quick as you can, that's super not stressful, gets the body going better than any perfect warm-up will, to be honest. That's just for me, that's what I've found for me. Doing something quick, doing something that doesn't hurt, and doing something that gets the body going, way better than doing something that might take you a half hour, because I don't have the time for that, right? So what I do a couple plyos, and then I jump right into conditioning. And if it's not running, I just get on the bike, or I get on whatever implement that I'll be conditioning on that day. The rower would be one as well. The assault bike, the rower, the spin bike, those are the other 3 implements that I use in my conditioning. So you can just jump right on those because they're not very stressful at all. However, for running, I'll do some plyos. I'll do maybe a skip or 2, maybe a stretch or 2, and then it's building up the running to whatever the conditioning is that day. And you might say, well, you're not really doing any mobility work, activation work, whatever. If you do it correctly, you can build that conditioning up. So it is kind of mobility. It is activating whatever you're using in training that day. And you're going to be preparing the body for anything that you could throw at it, to be honest. It is its own warm-up. I like it a lot. What's the actual point of a warm-up? Well, get the heart rate up, get the body temperature up. If I'm going to do conditioning for a warm-up or in the beginning of my training, you bet your ass that my body temp is going to go up and my heart rate's going to go up. So covered. Second one, why else do you do it? Prep the body for whatever's to come. You can tailor your conditioning training to semi-fatigue the muscles that you will be using in training, and that warm-up will get the specific muscles firing and relaxing and get it into a semi-fatigue state. So you might have a little bit of adrenaline pumping, and that seems to honestly get me into lifting a lot easier than other types of warm-ups. I think it preps the body a whole lot better. And then the third reason, exciting the nervous system. Going through a rhythmic motion like running, like I said, you are contracting, you're relaxing, you get into a semi-fatigue state, you get some adrenaline pumping, and you're doing something that's very quick twitch. In that instance, you are exciting the nervous system. Not to mention, when you get into that semi-fatigue state, you are going to push into using more and more muscle fibers and turn on your higher threshold motor neurons, because those muscle fibers are going to be needed to push you through that conditioning. When you do that for specific muscles that is going to carry over into your training, it is a lot easier to get into your heavy training or moving something fast when it comes to lifting than it is to just build up in your lift. I think the carryover there is a lot easier if you get a little bit of if you get 5 minutes of rest and then you go try squatting after you kind of burn out the hamstring and glutes. Squatting is going to be a lot easier than just jumping into squatting, in my humble opinion. And then lastly, the reason why I like to condition before I train is I like to mentally challenge myself. The thing that has fallen off for me in the past is conditioning. I will put it off and I'll put it off, and then I haven't conditioned in 3 weeks. So I made a commitment last fall that every day I have to condition. So it is a mental kind of hurdle to get over. I start conditioning, and then once I'm conditioned, or once I have conditioned and I've pushed myself in whatever realm that I have done, like everything else in the workout becomes easy. It's just the first domino that has to tip over when it comes to my own training. And it's a lot easier mentally to get it done in the beginning than it is to get done at the end. And sometimes I don't even have the time, like I said previously, to get it done. So if I start my workout off with it, I will always get the conditioning piece in, and I will feel better because of it. So the last reason is just because it's mentally hard, mentally challenging to, one, start it, and to, two, push myself through whatever I have committed to that day. Those are just the few reasons of why I like conditioning first in my training. Is it technically optimal? No, but for me, it is optimal in my situation and what I like to do, what I need to do, and how I can tailor my training best to me. And I know that a lot of people will say, that it's pointless or that it's kind of stupid or that I'm a bad manager of my time. But literally, when you have 20 minutes to work out some days, I'm not going to waste it trying to warm up for a squat. And at the end of 20 minutes, I'm warm. I'm going to warm up on a bike for 5 minutes, and then I can do any kind of conditioning for 12 minutes and I will be toast. And I think that has a lot more value than trying to get something else done in 20 minutes. I hope this maybe doesn't really convince you to do it or to try it, but to just give you insight into the fact that it can be useful, it can be done, and that if you find yourself in a similar situation as me or in situations where you don't have a lot of time to train, you can use this as a tool to help better your training because it's easier to get things done in a shorter amount of time. If you've watched this video to the end, I appreciate you. I am glad you're here. I will continually be sharing more and more strength and conditioning, performance, mindset tips as we go throughout the next several weeks up until the end of 2026 for sure. So if you like what you see, if you vibe with me, it would really mean a lot if you threw me a like, threw me a subscribe, comment if you have any questions. I would love to answer any questions that you have. You know, I just appreciate you being here. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, and then we'll see you in the next video. All right, thank you. Peace.